What if Valve just ignores us? I'm going to be expanding on my previous video and proposing that we double down on migrating to community servers, but I really want to be balanced and I want to make sure that you know there is no perfect solution, and I'm not proposing that this is a perfect solution. So I'm going to start off by addressing some of the cons to community servers. First of all, they're inconvenient. Compared to just pressing a button that says play the game, it's a lot more annoying to have to search through the community server browser, maybe click through a few different servers, load in, see if you actually enjoy this one. Maybe it's UGCTF and they're spoofing their ping, and then when you actually get in, you know, you're super laggy. Anything like that, it can be quite annoying and inconvenient to search through community servers. Now, I will be pushing back a little bit at that, which is that once you find servers that you like, sure, there's a high initial investment, but once you find servers that you like, it's very easy to just go to the website of whatever server. For example, I don't generally go into the community server browser and type CTF2fort and look for a 2fort server. I open up a web browser and type skyle.com and then click on a Skyle server from there. But this is a perfectly valid criticism. It is a little more annoying to find community servers than official servers. A second one, and this might sound insulting, but it is a genuine concern. There are less noobs to pub stomp in community servers. A lot of people, they want to play the game and they don't want to have to try too hard to do well. And that's not something that necessarily deserves criticism. Like, yeah, not every day are you in the mood to try hard, but it also feels nice to do well in the game. So it's nice to play against free-to-plays on official servers and just absolutely pub stomp without having to try that hard. It's a good source of dopamine, and that's something that you're probably going to miss out on somewhere like Uncletopia, where the player base is generally more experienced. And so if you really value that experience, you know, you might miss out on it playing with more experienced players. Again, that being said, I myself have the opposite opinion, that even if I don't want to try hard and I just want to play very casually, maybe with a meme loadout, I would rather have experienced players on my team who know how to push together and know where to hold and so on, than playing with a bunch of noobs. The trade-off goes both ways. It's not just that you're playing against noobs, you're also playing with noobs if you're not playing with experienced players. So it does kind of go both ways, but I will admit that, even though it might sound a little strange to say, it is fun to pub stomp noobs. And now the next one, this is I think quite a serious issue, and it's something that separates TF2 from a lot of other games with community servers, which is that even if the actual game server is a community owned, Valve still owns the item servers, and that's not something that can be distributed amongst the community. And so even if you do take back some control from Valve still ultimately controls the game, unless you want to play like it's 2007 with just stock items. And personally, I don't want to do that. I like the gun. There are a lot of meta-defining items. Sure, I could probably live without the Thompson, but there are a lot of meta-defining items like the gunboats or the Crusader's crossbow that the game would really be much worse without. And so if Valve did one day decide to shut down the item servers, moving to community servers wouldn't solve the issue. If Valve abandoned TF2, like, yeah, we might be able to live without the official Valve matchmaking servers, but without the item servers, the game would be in a pretty sorry state. Again, to push back a little bit, I think it's pretty unlikely that Valve will intentionally shut down item servers, given that the item market, maybe not in TF2, but in CSGO makes them a lot of money, and there's a lot of crossover between CSGO and TF2 items. And I guarantee you, if Valve shut down item servers in TF2, it would crash the market in Counter-Strike, because people would suddenly get scared that all their items were going to disappear on a whim from Valve, and that would be something very bad. So it seems quite unlikely that Valve would intentionally shut down item servers, but there is an option, and I know this might sound absurd, but stranger things have happened, that Valve unintentionally shuts down item servers because, say, they go bankrupt or something, This is the problem with live service games and games that are set up where you have to pay for items and it's all stored in a centralized server. If the company that owns that server goes bankrupt, you're kind of screwed. Now, it seems pretty unlikely that Valve is going to go bankrupt with, Steam being an infinite money printing machine, but you never know. You never know what could happen. Then another genuine concern that I've seen brought up quite a lot is that there would be a lot of fake servers that are just trawling for ads from the MOTD ads that load up and trying to make money by filling up the server browser with fake servers, which is a problem in Counter-Strike 2. But I do want to point out as a little bit of pushback that if you go into the other Counter-Strike games like 1.6 and Source, there are some fake servers, but it's not a huge problem. It does exist, but the amount of money you make from MOTD ads is so small that most people aren't willing to go out of their way to spam fake servers that hard. It does exist as a problem. I'm not going to deny that it's a problem, but I don't think it's the biggest problem. It's also something that could be solved with third-party websites that would aggregate real servers. Counter-Strike 2 has stuff like that already. It's relatively easy to set up, it seems like, although I couldn't do it. I'm not experienced enough. I don't know how these APIs work or whatever. But it seems like it's something that could be got around, but it does seem like a pain. It seems like something that would get in the way, so it's a valid concern for sure. There might not be servers with what you want to play. It's always going to be much easier to find a CTF2 fault server than it is to find a TC Hydro server or whatever. There probably aren't any. And that can be very easily seen. I was playing Counter-Strike 1.6 yesterday, and if you go into the server browser, you'll find a million Dust 2 servers, you'll find a million FY Pool Day servers. It's quite hard to find servers running more obscure maps or more obscure game modes, which is, I think, definitely a concern if you're someone who doesn't like some of the more popular maps and you only want to queue for a very particular map or a particular game mode that isn't supported, doesn't have a big community around it. It's definitely going to be harder to find in the community server browser than it would be in casual. So with smaller communities, centralizing them into Valve servers is actually quite helpful. There are solutions to this. Those servers could hop on Discord together. Those communities could end up like forming an actual social community on Discord together where they decide time. This is how like really small games like Rats Instagib still manage to stay alive, where like they have a Discord server where it pops up when people are playing the game and all sorts of stuff, and they organize timings together. But it is a problem. It does make it a pain. I'm not going to deny that. And there might also be problems that you have with the way servers are moderated. Maybe you really appreciate the fact that Valve servers are completely unmoderated and you can say whatever you want to whoever you want and not risk getting banned. And maybe you're concerned that on community-run servers, they're going to be more strictly moderated, and you don't like that. Now, me personally, I'm an adult now, but I remember being 15 and thinking that spamming the N-word was really funny. We've all been 15 at one point, and I don't know what to tell you. There are going to be servers which allow unmoderated chats. I'm pretty sure. I don't think that's a super big concern. But there is a problem, and again, there's a very real problem that still exists in many games of community servers. It exists right now in TF2 community servers, which is mod abuse or admin abuse. There are going to be people who have power in the server who are going to abuse that power. Like, that's just simply how it works. And it's something that's unavoidable. It's just the case anytime you give anyone power. It was the case back on forums. It's the case in Discord servers now. It's just always going to be the case that there are some people who are going to make moderation decisions that you disagree with, or there might be, they might just get mad and ban you if you kill them or whatever. And that's a shame. But fortunately, you can always just change servers if that happens. So that was some of the cons. I tried to provide some pushback to them, but I do want to remind you that even though I pushed back, I do think those are all definitely valid issues to have with the community server model. Like I provided some pushback, but those are only sort of half solutions. Like those are all fundamental issues with the community server model. But now I want to talk about the pros. First of all, let's just remember that this has worked for a long time. Okay, there are many games, and have been many games historically, that never had official servers, and a lot of them are still popular to this day. Quake, Half-Life Deathmatch, some of these older games, still popular to this day, never had official servers. Counter-Strike 1.6, Counter-Strike Source, still popular to this day. You can still load into servers right now, and there's thousands of people playing those games, and never had official servers. And on top of all of that, the big one, TF2, didn't get official servers until 2011. The first good few years of TF2, there were no official servers, and it was great fun, and it was super popular at that time. So the point being that this is not some wacky, crazy idea. This is just the way video games worked. You know, at first, with like way back in the day, like Doom, you had peer-to-peer online games, which kind of sucked because peer-to-peer connections over a dial-up in the 90s, you can imagine, might not have been that great. But the client-server model pretty quickly won. The client-server model pretty quickly won out, and most online games, you know, until like maybe even the 2010s, were just run like that. That's just how games worked. So it's a proven formula. Like, this isn't some insane theoretical thing. This is how games worked on PC for a long time, and it was fine. It's also worth pointing out that you could just reframe this argument, because the term official servers really just means unmoderated servers, right? Like, it's kind of insane to have servers just with no human moderation and say that that's better. You know, at least to me, it seems a little odd to assume that you could ever run a successful video game servers with zero human moderation, relying entirely on software. It seems like a bit of a scam, right? That there was a transitionary period where video games changed from being a game you buy and then you own the game, and that's what the game is, to games as a service, live service games, right? And TF2 was actually a primary, right in the middle of this, because it launched as a game you buy. It launched as an arena FPS game, class-based arena FPS Quake mod sequel, and over its lifetime, it in part created the idea of live service games. So TF2 in particular is like this really weird situation where it's kind of both. But games companies did this because they realized they could make a lot more money off of live service games than they could, off of just selling you a product once and then you own it forever. And in doing so, they had to take away a lot of the community-focused options. So most games these days don't give you officially supported community server options. And there's an obvious problem with that, which is that these official servers, it's impossible for a company to moderate all of their servers for the entire player base. When you have the community in charge of this, and that duty of moderating servers is spread out over a number of different individual small teams managing their own small group of servers or individual server, it's much easier to moderate the entire thing. Whereas you could never expect a games company to shell out all the money and labor that it would take to moderate all of their servers. And so they spread this idea that there was this thing called a software anti-cheat that could somehow solve cheating. But it never has. Now, so I'm not against software anti-cheats, okay? I'm in favor of software anti-cheats. They provide a very important stopgap to lower the workload for human moderators, to catch the most blatant cheaters and make writing cheats a little bit harder. But they are no replacement for human moderators. They never have been. And the idea that they ever were is basically, as far as I'm concerned, a myth perpetuated by these gaming companies so that they could make more money. And it's not just TF2, okay? Cheaters are getting worse in every single video game. All of us gamers, right? We're all gamers here. We're all stuck in our own little communities. We don't play every game. I play TF2. I used to play Counter-Strike. That's pretty much it. You might just play whatever game you play and that's it. But if you actually look outside of just the games you play and you dig into the communities of other games, as far as I can tell, every single game is experiencing cheating worse than it ever has before. Counter-Strike 2 has a massive cheater problem. Rainbow Six Siege, massive cheater problem. Rust, massive cheater problem. Apex, massive cheater problem. Even Valorant has some cheaters. Just look at all of the popular FPS games that are out right now, and you'll see that they're experiencing more cheaters than ever before. And I think it's just because the tools, I think there's a number of reasons, but actually I'll not get into that right now. It's a little off topic. Maybe I'll make another video about that. But, there are ways to solve this in software. You could have a super intrusive anti-cheat. But personally, I think just having human moderated servers is a better option than letting some random company install a rootkit on my computer. I care about my privacy and security. There are a number of really good arguments against a super intrusive kernel level anti-cheat. I won't get into them here. It's been talked about at length in other places. You can do your own research on that. But I personally will never install a game that has an anti-cheat that intrusive. And we have an alternative, which is human moderation. It's not perfect, but it's better than nothing. So more pros. Community servers can make changes beyond just moderation. They could make balance changes or implement class limits or make any sort of other changes to the game that Valve has basically abandoned. You know, I'm sure we would all like to see the vaccinator bubbles get nerfed a little bit. I'm sure we would all like to see the Wrangler shield get nerfed a little bit. I'm sure we would all like to see the short circuit no longer be spammable on the cart. You know, there's a lot of issues like that community servers could just fix. They don't have to wait for Valve to do anything. We don't have to sit here begging Valve, who is never going to listen to us. You know, you could just make those changes yourself, which is good. And you can be the change you want to be, which I think is really the key here. That with community servers, the community is in charge. They can make changes that they want to see, and anyone can set up a server. If you have no servers in your region doing a particular thing, and you have the resources to do you can get the resources to change that. You can set up your own server and be like, well, I am going to make a server where sniper is banned because I hate snipers or something like that. Like, you can just do that. You can just make that change if you want, which I think is really great. And again, it's something that I would encourage, you know. Set up your own servers. We need more high quality community servers. Another aspect, community servers are resilient. You know, again, it seems unlikely, but Valve could at any day make the decision to shut down TF2 casual servers. They could make the decision to make some horrific change to the game that they refuse to revert. They could make the decision, you know, they could go out of business and shut down the servers. Like, there's a lot of options that could cause TF2 to shut down. They could even be victims to a cyber attack that causes their servers to shut down. You know, a meteor could strike the server farm. Anything could happen. It seems unlikely, but Valve servers have gone down multiple times in the past. The item servers have gone down multiple times in the past. It's not insane. Like, even if it's not permanent, these things happen. Communities, having a distributed network, having a decentralized network just makes the entire network more resilient, because while individual nodes might be more likely to shut down, the network as a whole isn't reliant on a single point of failure. When you have a centralized hierarchical network where everything is centered on one single point of failure, which is Valve's servers, and that single point of failure might be, you know, you can focus all of your security efforts on that, but if it goes down, the entire network's fucked. A decentralized system, each individual node in that system might have less security resources pumped into it, but it matters less if any individual node goes down, which makes the overall network more resilient. Community servers are pro-social. You can find, you know, a lot of, back in the day, how games used to work is you would generally find your server. You would spend a while when you got into a game digging through various servers, flitting between the communities, and you'd find a community that you fit into, and you'd make friends there. You'd see the same people every day. You'd talk to them. You'd get in voice chat with them. You'd get in IRC with them. You know, it was great. It creates an actual social environment where you find your server that you load into every day, and you meet the same people, and you chat, and you become friends. And friends are good. I think friendship is a good thing. And finally, there's stuff that we didn't have back in the day. For example, YouTubers and influencers, who pretty much every popular TF2 YouTuber hosts their own server. It's not just Uncletopia. And some of these servers are really interesting or fun to be in. Lazy Purple has these silly servers that are really fun. For example, there are YouTubers who host rebalance patch servers, you know. And the thing about YouTuber servers is they're good because YouTubers have an active incentive to sustain their reputation. They have resources to pay for servers. They don't have to necessarily beg for donations or give out like VIP privileges or put like ads in the message of the day, because they have YouTube money to spend on TF2 servers. And then they have an incentive to keep those servers high quality, because they're a public figure who needs to maintain a brand. So that's, you know, I'm not saying we should exclusively play on YouTuber servers, but YouTuber servers are a nice thing. They seem to have worked pretty well so far. So the point of this video is really that regardless of what Valve does or does not do, creating more high quality community servers as an alternative to casual is exactly what the game needs. Right? I'm not saying we should stop, you know, bugging Valve about the bots or whatever. We should not. We should keep on their ass. But regardless of what Valve does, it can only be a good thing to create more and higher quality community servers and to use and donate and support those servers wherever possible. It can only ever make the game a better place. There's no option where it somehow damages the game. And so that's what I'm arguing in favor of, is doing that. Thanks for watching.